Hello and welcome to BW TV. Today I'm joined by Mr. Vivek Kumar Devangan, who is the Chairman and Managing Director of REC Limited. Sir, thank you so much for your time this afternoon. And if you look at the beginnings of REC, it started as something where the leaders sort of reducing the dependence of agriculture on monsoon, powering the agriculture pump sets for irrigation purposes. And today, it has traversed across this huge journey to cover the entire power sector, be it transmission, distribution, generation. And if you look at the government's thrust, it wants to make it India a $5 trillion economy. The power sector will play a vital role towards that goal, and aligned with that is the government's thrust on green energy transition. Tell us how, under your leadership, REC is adopting its vision on those lines.
Government of India's focus is on energy transition. In Glasgow in 2021, India has committed that 500 gigawatt of electricity capacity will come from non-fossil fuel sources by the year 2030, and will meet our 50% requirement from non-fossil fuel sources by the year 2030. Right. At the same time, our carbon emission intensity of the GDP will be reduced by 45% as compared to 2005 level by the year 2030. And in this process, by the year 2030, we will reduce carbon emission by about 1 billion ton. And India is also striving to become net zero by the year 2070. This will entail a huge investment. The huge investment, the various estimates vary from $10 trillion to $15 trillion over for the India to become net zero. But in the short term, by the year 2030, since we have to install about 500 gigawatt of renewable energy capacity, this will entail investment of minimum 15 lakh crore in next 7 years. The REC is targeting about 20% of this market, and we are targeting that our funding in green projects in the next 7 years will be to the tune about 3 lakh crore.
Okay. So if you look at the performance, the quarter that just went by, or the financial year just finished, REC had a stellar performance both in terms of its revenue growth and profitability. What would you, term for these stellar numbers? What have been, according to you, the growth drivers for these numbers?
Yeah, first thing was that the highest ever disbursement took place last year. 96,000 crore we had disbursed in one financial year. That was one of the highest disbursement.
Right.
And we were able to resolve about 6 stressed assets. Okay. We are giving more emphasis on the quality of the assets which we are financing. The resolution of these stressed assets has resulted we got write-off of about 700 crore. Okay. We had made more provisioning, but the resolution amount was better. So these all factors led to the increase in our profitability. Our profit increased by about 13%. Total profit last financial year was about 11,055 crore. And our loan book size has increased to 4,35,000 crore. That was year on year growth was about 13%. Right. And the share of renewable energy in our loan portfolio is about 6.8% at present. We intend to increase the share of renewable energy portfolio to about 30% by the year 2030. Okay. And one more development which has happened last year was Government of India has allowed us to diversify into infrastructure and logistics. Right. So far our financing has been in the entire value chain of power sector only, right, from generation to transmission and distribution. Now we can diversify into infrastructure and logistics, which are non-power sector. Okay. And this selling of about 30%, 33% of our financing in infrastructure and logistics can come as compared to our total outstanding loan.
Okay. So sir, among your financial products and the vast array of financial products that REC offers, what are some of the most sought given the changing dynamics in the power sector, and now that you're also working towards finances towards the non-power sector as well?
Earlier we were financing this conventional generation project, okay, conventional coal-based thermal power plant, hydropower plants. For that longer tenure loans we were giving, right, but now more of renewable energy projects are coming. Their gestation period is small. they get commission over within a period of 2 to 3 years.
Okay.
So they don't require long-term financing. 5-year to 10-year financing is sufficient. Earlier, the tenure of the financing varied from 12 to 15 years.
Okay.
And hydro projects, we have allowed the longer tenure loan of 20 years.
Okay.
We are also extending medium-term loan, short-term loan also. We are also now financing electric buses. We are given a suitable product for financing electric mobility. Smart metering is going to be a big game changer over the next few years. And we also developed a special product for the smart metering.
Okay. Now, recently your green bonds were also listed. Tell us about the global acceptance for these bonds, and of course, as we were talking in our first question about the green projects. Tell us about that.
We recently floated one green bond. It had got huge response. This was highest ever green bond. We raised $750 million. And the rates were quite competitive. These rates were 80 basis points lower than the domestic borrowing. Right. And most of these proceeds from this green bonds would be to finance the green projects only. Okay. And the exclusive listing of this green bond was done at GIFT City, Gandhinagar, which also allowed us that withholding tax got reduced by 1%. So it all resulted into a very attractive rate, and we'll be able to finance more and more green projects with this green bond issues.
Absolutely, Mr. Devangan. Now I want to shift my focus to two important schemes that REC is overseeing. First, let's talk about the Saubhagya scheme. What are the outcomes of that in terms of electrification of rural households? And then, of course, we'll talk about the distribution sectors, RDSS. But first, on the Saubhagya scheme, what have been the outcome?
Saubhagya scheme targeted 100% household electrification. In a short span of 18 months, we are able to give household electricity connection to the willing unelectrified household over a period of 18 months. 2.86 crore households were connected through electricity connection. We did a detailed planning with the help of distribution companies, state governments. Lot of massive mobilization of resources was carried out. We also did the capacity building of the lower level functionaries so that this mobilization could take place. We could reach to the far off places and we could install this electricity in the far off villages.
Right. And in terms of the RDSS scheme, of course, when we are talking about the power sector, it has been usually centered more towards the distribution sector, mainly due to the losses which these companies were mounting. So how have been, since you are facilitating that scheme, overseeing that, what has been the outcome of this? How have those losses come down for for these distribution companies?
The RDSS scheme was launched in 2021. Total outlay is more than 3 lakh crore. Out of this 3 lakh crore, the Government of India grant is about 97,000 crore. RDSS is mainly focusing on improving the financial and operational efficiency of the distribution companies. With the introduction of RDSS, huge improvement have taken place across the DISCOMs. In fact, AT&C losses have come down substantially in the last financial year after COVID. Right. This total AT&C losses have come down by 5%, from 22% to 17%. And the government department dues are also coming down. State governments have committed to to bring down the government department dues, as well as they have also given the trajectory to pay the legacy subsidy of the DISCOMs. So by the year 2026, we will be able to liquidate all the government department dues, all the legacy subsidies would be liquidated. That will improve the financial health of the distribution companies.
Absolutely, sir. And beyond these initiatives, I want to understand the CSR initiatives at REC as well. If you could briefly tell us on that as well.
CSR, we have been following the guidelines issued by the Department of Public Enterprises. For the last 2-3 years, Department of Public Enterprises has given us the guideline that 60% of our spending should be in health and sanitation, which we have been able to adhere to. Apart from health and sanitation, we are also focusing on rural development related work, rural infrastructure works. In fact, we have signed an MOU with National Sports Development Fund. We are financing 3 major games: badminton, boxing and athletics. We are committed to give grant up to 100 crores over the next 3 years, and we hope that we will be able to nurture the potential player who will be able to win medals for the country.
Right. Mr. Devangan, my last question to you. You've played a pivotal role, in making this REC a Maharatna PSU. Going forward, what do you envision for it under your leadership, and for setting that foundation even for future leaderships now that it's a Maharatna PSU?
REC became a Maharatna company in September 2022. Thereafter, we have revised our business strategy, and we would like to play a pivotal role in the developmental landscape of the country, focusing on the energy transition. As of now, our full loan book stands at around 4,35,000 crore. We intend to increase our outstanding loan to the about 10 lakh crore by the year 2030. Out of this 10 lakh crore, 3 lakh crore would come from the green project financing, and we'll also be focusing on non-power infrastructure and logistics sector. That also is our focus area, but we hope that will play a very active role and catalyzing role in energy transition which is taking place in the country.
Mr. Devangan, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for very clearly elaborating as to what would be REC's contribution, its role as India strives towards a $5 trillion economy and with a significant thrust on its power sector. That was it on this edition of BW TV. Thank you so much.